Are you looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this football and basketball season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select two or more players, pick more or less on their projections for a wide variety of stats, and place your entry. It's as easy as that. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and injury insurance on your picks are what makes Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Ready to test your skills? Join the PrizePicks community of more than 7 million players who have already signed up. Right now, PrizePicks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/bluewire and use code BLUEWIRE. That's code BLUEWIRE at prizepicks.com/bluewire for a first deposit match of up to $100. PrizePicks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Mavs Party, brought to you by Pod Maverick. My name is Kirk Henderson, and I'm editor-in-chief of MavsMoneyball.com. That is a shit ton of branding in the first 15 seconds of a show. Thank you so much for joining me on this live cast after the Dallas Mavericks defeated the Sacramento Kings 123-119. Yes, we've won, but at what cost? Insert Wario. Woo! Guys. I don't really know what to say. Some of you were in here for the Josh Bowe and I postgame recap. I'm a little spicy. I'm a little less pissy than I was, largely because I got it out in that show. But I'm looking forward to those of you who want to make me angry again. So let's come hang out and argue about something in which we have precisely zero control over. Those of you who are hanging out that aren't subscribers, go ahead and smash that subscribe button. Go ahead and do like the stream too. That will help us get popping in other things. All right, coming up first, I already have 4 people waiting, which pleases me a great deal. Makes me feel like I'm doing this show for something. You'll notice the fact that I have a different background tonight. The reason is Mrs. Serious Face looked at me and said, "I don't care that you have to stream. I want to go to sleep." So yeah, those of you who are married, you understand that now I'm streaming from my kitchen. Coming up first is my man, Chris Haley. Chris, what's going on?
Nothing. Can you hear me?
I can. You sound great. Thanks for joining again.
Okay. Yeah, of course. Yeah. What cost indeed? I knew they were going to win this game. I know it's probably going to come down to the final game of the season against the Spurs. Like last year, weird stuff happens against the Spurs. Just like in 2019, weird things happen against the Spurs. The last home game where we were saying Salah Mejri and Devin Harris went crazy, and it kind of messed up our draft odds there, just winning that last game. So I'm thinking here, and the one team in the East that we need to win is the Bulls. And what are the freaking odds that we play them the next game?
Yeah, they're good. They're good. They don't care. They're apparently going to consider sitting guys on Friday.
I heard the recap. So I guess the Bulls, and the Spurs, their odds are the same no matter if they win or they lose. Same thing, I guess, when it comes to the Thunder, right? They're going against the Jazz and the Grizzlies. So
yes,
and the teams that they're facing, it doesn't really matter. I think, the Jazz are out. They don't even have a chance.
No. So you expect the Thunder to beat the Jazz and then this to go down to the wire against the Grizzlies, who are.
It sucks because we play at 2:30 on Sunday. They play at 2:30 on Sunday. It'd be different if maybe they had a noon game. We can kind of gauge what's going on. I don't know. This sucks. It's going to go down to the wire. So, yeah, we'll probably win on Friday against the Bulls. I mean, who do you root for? Do you go for the Thunder? I mean, I guess we're going all in, right? We're just going to go with the play-in. I mean,
the players don't tank. So this was kind of a given. Like I found myself going through like various stages of emotion because you heard the Luka Doncic being like, well, if I'm able to play, I'm going to play. And it's like, what about the various games you missed over the course of the season where we lost when we needed you to play, but you didn't play? The Mavericks told you not to play, so you didn't play. Like I was trying not to get too upset about that because all the various and look, my Slovenian followers, my European followers, I love all of you. You guys are wonderful people. But everyone who talks like they know what's going on in Luka Doncic's head drives me crazy. Like what he didn't play in Cleveland when like Cleveland has the biggest Slovenian diaspora in the United States, and there was like a kid who flew 6,000 miles to go sit at the game, and Luka didn't play. If he wasn't, the Mavs don't want to tank. That's fine. What we're on though now is like a path that I feel like there's a landmine in front of me, to the left of me, to the right of me, and there's no way to avoid it.
I think it's going to go one way or the other. I think we're either going to miss the play-in and have the Bulls win, or I don't know, man. The nuclear option is we miss the play-in, and then there's we end up being the 11th seed or 11th.
Oh, that's the single funniest outcome. Like the single funniest outcome is we miss the play-in, or we get into 10th, we lose the first game, but we're still in 11th place, so we send the pick to New York. Kyrie Irving decides to go sign elsewhere, and we're just sitting here holding ourselves.
We win the Bulls game, and the Thunder win their last two games, and the Spurs, for some reason, when was the last time they beat us? It's probably been a couple of years, right?
I don't know. I technically count that overtime win earlier this year as a loss.
What if they beat us? God. And I'm looking at my phone right now, tankathon.com. How is so right now at the season, I don't know if this is accurate. I'm looking at it. It says that we would have the 12th worst record. How is the Bulls, or how is the Thunder ahead of us in that regard? Because I thought they owned the tiebreaker against.
Don't ask me to do math. It's 11:07. What are you doing? This is just mean.
Well, what about the Bulls though? Like, if the season ended and we're tied with them,
coin flip.
How would they?
Coin flip. Seriously, they would do a coin flip between the teams, like it's 1972, and we have no better way of solving 50-50 opportunities. It's great.
But lastly, here's the other way it's going to go. We hit this hot streak. We end up making the play-in. We knock out the Timberwolves or the Pelicans. Then we got to play the Lakers, the Clippers, and we get revenge maybe on the Clippers, get to the first round. And honestly, I mean, I think Jokic would, kill us in the paint, but I'm not really scared of the Nuggets, to be honest with you.
Yeah, they're playing like butt right now. They give me
Rockets last night with Jokic playing. So, I mean,
They give me strong 2007 Mavericks vibes where we had won, we went on like a 52-4 stretch, and then they just played kind of 500-ish basketball the rest of the way.
It was like our first 5 or 6 games that season. And
yes, they went 0-4, then they went 52-4, and then they played mediocre basketball the rest of the way.
And didn't the Warriors in the regular season beat us every single game that year, or at least 3 of them?
They were the worst possible matchup. Like those guys beat us like we stole something that year. That was bad.
We beat them once, so it ended up affecting us or affecting them.
It was It was the very last game of the season.
Yes,
like exactly.
It affected them where they ended up facing us in the first round and then that was a worst possible matchup for us. Obviously, that sucked. 06, 07, all those kinds of memories.
Let's revisit pain. Yay!
Yeah. And it all started in 03 with that ankle tweak, man.
I know, man.
The Dirk ankle tweak. But let's go down to the wire at 2:30 on Sunday, and let's just put it all out there. There's 3 different scenarios that are going to happen,
Yep.
Well,
thank you so much for hanging out with us, my guy.
Yeah. See you Friday.
All right. Talk soon. So those of you who are watching on the live stream, do me a favor, go ahead and give it a like, give it a share, subscribe. That sort of thing helps. We got a lot of people waiting. This is more people than we've had before, at least at one time. Kind of, I think we have it throughout the night. Coming up next is my man Brian, a regular who joined the podcast. What do we call it? The Spotify Lives late, but now he's here with us. What's going on, Brian?
Yeah, man, I'm glad to finally be here for the first YouTube, my first YouTube stream.
Isn't it cool? You can do it from your phone still.
It is really nice. Because I had done this before. I think with a different program, or like with another friend who had a podcast who was doing streaming, something like that. So I was wondering if we were ever going to move over here. So yeah, this is nice. What is not nice is we are on a speeding bullet to hell. We had our opportunity to pull the lever, to hit the brakes, to take us off of this track. And the Kings couldn't do the one thing. I've needed them to do in like 10 years and just beat us tonight.
Yeah, I sent lots of nasty DMs to my various Kings friends that I have over the years. It was the only thing that got me through it.
Yeah, I will never be mad at Mavericks players for
No,
winning basketball games.
right.
Can't be mad at the players. The Kings, though.
Well, I
they're
mean,
fucking frauds.
like this game was real simple. It came down to 3-point shooting. The Kings beat us in every single element that mattered. Only they shot 45% from three, and the Kings shot 32%. And Dallas wins by 4. You make one less 3-pointer. This is a ball game, and you don't get that like that technical foul that got called on Kevin Huerter for basically shoving Tim off. Because he punched him in the face and the ref didn't, or I'm sorry, Tim punched him in the face and the ref missed it. Like it was a right cross.
Right.
And he's like, what is happening? I love that.
Game of Tyson.
But I mean, shit like that happens.
And look, and at the end of the game, they still had a chance to come back and win it. And they just airballed 3 straight threes. It was agonizing. I didn't even watch most of the game. I literally tuned in like the last 5 minutes.
Oh, so
because I was afraid.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was afraid of exactly this happening. And man, I watched every Kyrie shot. That Christian Wood 3, that was the dagger that pretty much sealed it. I felt like a nuke to the chest.
Perfect. Like the guy who will not re-sign with us last year did this. Just thank you, Christian.
Just on the way out. And again, not mad at him. I'm actually glad he had a really good, like he wasn't playing well before that, but
yeah,
he had a really good stretch towards the end of the game.
I mean,
so
him and
I'm happy
Kyrie
for
were
him.
the only players to score in the fourth quarter.
Yes. Yeah.
That was bananas.
Which there's a lot to be said about that, but Josh had a decent game, so I'm happy for him. I didn't really see what happened. Did Jaden even play?
He did. He had some good opportunities. Just it was it was a game. Like he didn't do anything bad. He didn't really do anything good.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because I didn't remember seeing anything. Tim had the game of his life, which, of course, Tim Hardaway.
Well, he needed it. I mean, his dad put him in hot water. Like I have God. That's like if one of your parents says something to one of your teachers, and then you have to go in and be like, "I'm really sorry. My mom was mad." Because like Tim Hardaway Sr. was like, "This team sucks and they have no leaders," and so it forced Tim to basically have to like for anybody that doesn't know. And everybody's making fun of my microphone. Like this is a Blue Yeti. Y'all understand? It's just I'm in a shitty setup because my wife told me to go downstairs. So normally, like I place my mic up here, I could do the Nick Angstad thing. I'm not a professional streamer. I'm still figuring this out. So everyone, thank you for making fun of my mic.
Yeah. Speaking of mics, you would think that people would have learned by now not to.
No, it looks stupid.
Put a mic
like
in
all
front
these people are correct. I'm just letting them know.
No, I'm saying you would think people would have learned by now not to put a mic in front of Tim Hardaway Sr. But you know.
Oh yeah.
Well,
he's pretty good.
Yeah, so that was unfortunate. And then you got all the Cuban mess right before the game.
It's like we just need to find a way to get Tim confused about what he's supposed to be doing. Then he forgets, and then he just goes and shoots like crazy. I mean, some of the shots him and Kyrie made tonight were bananas. Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, it was a bewildering, horrific win, but a win nonetheless, I guess.
Yeah. Well, what are we thinking? Do we think they beat the Bulls and the Spurs?
Come on, man. You know what team you're talking about. They are absolutely going to.
I mean, they've not won 3 in a row since February 6th to 10th.
I'm gonna challenge them to be peak Mavericks. I think they're gonna beat the Bulls and then lose to the Spurs somehow. I don't know how, because the Spurs are like a tanking machine. I don't know how, but I feel like they're gonna do it.
I don't hate it. Well,
but yeah, that pick is gone, brother. That pipe dream is gone, and I'm very upset about that.
I just, I love finding new and different ways to be mad about my favorite basketball team. It's just such a fun year. It's such a fun year.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us, Brian. You got anything else?
Man, new CBA's coming. We're not going to be able to buy picks either pretty soon. All around looking pretty bleak, but keep your head up, man. There's no telling what's about to happen this summer.
I keep joking. It's like you guys probably are all too young to have watched Airplane, but the guy says, I picked a hell of a week to stop drinking. I picked a hell of a week to stop sipping or sniffing glue. I picked a hell of a week to start video casting. right as the
Yeah.
Mavericks are disaster zone. So, well, thank you so much for hanging out.
All right, my boy. I appreciate you having me.
All right, talk soon. Coming up next, we got Ethan. Ethan's been waiting. Anybody that isn't familiar with how to join that is in the YouTube channel, go ahead and click that link at the very top of the saved comments, and it will put you in a waiting room. Then you can hang out for a few minutes, still listen to the show, and you will get to come up. I bring basically everybody up on stage as long as you don't literally show your ass, and then we'll be fine. Ethan, welcome to the show.
What's up, Kirk? Can you hear me?
I can. You sound good.
Cool. First time, long time. Always thought about joining, but honestly never felt like I had anything else to add.
Well, I'm glad you joined.
Appreciate it. So I didn't actually watch tonight. I'm out of commission, wasn't able to watch. Was driving all day and then got on Reddit and saw what the hell did Mark Cuban do?
What did he do?
Why does he have to do this all the time? Like, I'm a forever Mark Cuban hater. I'm not going to lie. Like, I know a lot of people like to defend him. I can't stand him. I was about to come on here last week and say, as bad as we are, he's finally shut up. He doesn't want to talk because we're bad. Now, he proved me wrong. I wish I would have never said that because now he came out and talked. It's just, I can't stand it.
I heard a theory on the 77 Space, I think it was 77 Spaces show before the game, that essentially the reason he felt the need to go talk tonight was because Tim Hardaway Sr. put the Mavericks on alert about the status of the team and kind of blasted them. So he felt the need to respond in some way, shape, or form. But I just don't understand, because for people who don't, for like the casual fan is going to like Cuban taking responsibility, which he did. The hardcore fan, and really anyone with management experience, is going to know, like, when the CEO messes with like the job of the people that he pays to do, the results are going to be funky. You know, it's not his job to go be general manager. And I just, you know, I don't understand a lot of what the Mavericks have done for going on several years now. And I've talked a lot in recent podcasts about how I don't think the Mavericks understood why they won. I do think Mark understood why they won. Like, he's not dumb. It just, this is all so frustrating. And I don't know what to do with kind of the feelings, because as everybody keeps pointing out to me, he's not going anywhere.
No, at this point, like, I keep seeing him compared to Jerry Jones. Like, that's an insult to Jerry Jones, honestly. Like, they put together good franchises. I mean, they haven't won anything, but like, I feel like the process with the Cowboys has been good. I just, man, I don't know. I don't know what to say about him. Like, I'm fine with the taking responsibility part, but like, what good could possibly come of like taking shots at Rick Brunson? Like, I don't understand. Like, that doesn't
I made this point in the post-game show. I can't understate how bad it is to talk about a player's family.
Yeah.
I mean, just see zero upside.
Y'all, like, Mavs Moneyball in particular has been hated on for being negative or whatever. And I've always been with you. And like, I just, man, like, I mean, the only good thing that can come from this season is like the casual fan seeing how awfully this organization's run. If I wasn't from Northeast Texas, I'd hate this team.
Well, we're also tribalistic that what Mark does feels really good until you look at it from the context of the players. And I sometimes get frustrated with how much of a say the players have, because I root for laundry. I do root for players, but I want my team to be good. You know, I don't want a player to be able to say, I want to go wherever I want because they make $40 million. I know you're not supposed to say that stuff out loud in the world, but I love my teams, and that's not going to change. Like, I'm not, if Luka were to go to another team, I'll probably still root for him, kind of, but I'm still going to be a Mavs fan. And to watch Dallas do what they've done the past 11, 12 years now has really sucked, because every move gets rationalized away. And one of the things about them making this play-in, which I think they're gonna, is it Brian said it in the chat about 2 or 3 minutes ago, it wipes away a lot of this criticism. They'll be able to say, oh, we just need to retool. And it kicks the can down the road. No real changes will occur, I don't think.
Well, it's a slightly off topic, but I would like to say how you mentioned, you know, rooting for the laundry instead of the players. You're absolutely right. Like, people like to act like, well, it's all about the players be able to choose what they want to do. I mean, the teams being able to trade players it's like owning an organization is like a chessboard. Like you're making picks. As far as the players decide where they want to go, that doesn't create parity in the league. Like if just three players say, "Well, we want to win a team up in LA," that doesn't. Teams are always going to have their best interests at heart. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. Like as far as I'm concerned, you're employed by the league, and you just work at the office in Dallas or Houston or I don't know.
It's tough. Yeah, it's tough because I want Mark talked today. One of the quotes he gave today was like he thinks that Luka wants to be a Mav for his whole career, but we have to earn that. And it's like, you're not earning it right now.
I don't even understand why you need to say that. I don't know. Sometimes I wish we had like the owner for the Detroit Pistons or something. I'll say that.
I've never heard from Mickey Arison, the Heat owner, in my life. I've never heard from the owner of the Portland Trailblazers. You never hear from Peter Holt, the owner of the Spurs.
I agree. I don't know. I've said on the Reddit post earlier today, I'm going to give up who I am. I don't think there's anything that could ever make me give up being a Mavs fan, but if there is, it's going to be because of Mark Cuban.
I just like that you're brave enough to go onto Reddit. Every time I go to Reddit, someone's really mean to me, and I walk away because I'm a wimp. Well, thank you for joining, Ethan. I hope you come back sometime.
I appreciate it, Kirk. I've thought about it before. I'm sure I'll do it again.
Outstanding. All right. Appreciate it very much. Have a good night.
Yes, sir. You too.
We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. One of the things I love about Indeed is it makes hiring all in one place so easy and streamlined so I can spend more time on the rest of my business. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences. So the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Okay, coming up next is one of the hosts of 77 Spaces on Twitter, my man Jose. Jose, you're staying up late. What's up, my friend?
Not much, Kirk. So I'm gonna just be real. Bring transparency. So
You're actually Mark Cuban.
So I didn't start watching the game realistically until about the fourth quarter, the beginning of the fourth quarter. So all I'll have to say about the game is
the fourth quarter was fun.
Right. I joined the best part. But I'll just say Kyrie was absolutely amazing. I love to see Kyrie just do his thing in the fourth quarter, and this is why you make the trade for the secondary star. I mean, no matter what people think, apparently Dinwiddie's a defensive anchor, and and then Dorian Finney-Smith was just having a declining year. I will make that trade regardless of the stipulations, because also because Mark Cuban has been aching and just trying and pulling out his hair and re-dyeing his hair all over again, and probably getting some ass hair and putting on top of his real hair just to make it seem like he's not balding. But that's not the point here. But he's been trying forever to get a secondary star.
That's right.
Whether it was to pair with Dirk or now to pair with Luka. So I'm okay with the trade. I'm gonna stand by that regardless of how it plays out in all season. Whether Kyrie says fuck being in Dallas, I want to go somewhere else. I still think the trade was a good move. So to get into what had happened earlier today, I made a post after the game talking about how I'm disappointed in the win because you just had this conversation with Ethan and talking about how no accountability. Like he can claim that he takes accountability for this team, but when you think about it, Mark has been a media merchant. He's been very clever on how to properly use every word in his vernacular to make it seem like this is not a fuck up. Like everything's fine in Dallas. And when you have a season like this, it just goes to show like, hey, you weren't right at all. Like all the PR, the propaganda that you spread is just not it's just not working. We see
Everything that could go wrong has gone wrong.
exactly. And we could see the bullshit. Like as fans, like whether you're a casual, whether you're a hardcore, whether you're a content creator talking about the Mavs, you starting to see the cracks. You're starting to see the pressure really start cranking up. And I think this win is just going to take away from the real problem. And I just feel like if they make it to the play-in and they make it into the playoffs, there's not going to be real change. And how can you really get change with only 2 first-round picks going into the off season? Who's available for 2 first-round picks? And I just had mentioned in the comment section of this post that I had made, I was like, I think it would be better to have this pick because you could either pick a good young player, low cost, and it seems like the CBA is really the new CBA is going to be really dependent on growth, development. Keeping those type of young assets on your team. You could go into the luxury and pay your players. The only thing is it's going to eliminate the MLE and the buyout market, which uh, I'm fine with. But I can't stress enough how Mark has continuously ducted uh, building a roster from one to all the way to 15. I mean, one is Lucas, so that's not the main issue. But the thing is filling out the rest of the roster, and yeah, Luca probably accelerated the clock, limited what you can do and how you're supposed to move forward. But
Yeah.
I just think there was ways to manage your assets a lot better. And then now you're in a situation where, well, damn, we're above the cap. We have Davis Bertans, we have Tim Hardaway Jr., which I think he has some good trade value. I
For
think he's
once.
done, yeah. And you're gonna be selling Tim high, but Davis, JaVale McGee, even
Right.
Maxi, because I think you're going to have to move on from Maxi. He's 31,
I don't know when
32
they can
years old.
trade him. I don't know if they can trade him until the deadline because he signed the extension.
Right, man. I think it's a year after.
Right.
You
So it's
sign,
like
yeah.
maybe trade dedeadline this next year.
Right. So
Who was giving
and
Maxi money? I don't understand.
the Mavericks. But like when you look at JaVale McGee, you look at Davis Bertans, and you look at Tim Hardaway Jr., Frank Ntilikina is a free agent, Christian Wood, free agent, which I'll get back to Christian Wood here in a second, but Theo Pinson, free agent. You also have Jaden Hardy for the next 2 years. You have Josh Green going into a contract extension talks. So it's just like, well, if you only have 2 first-round picks as opposed to having maybe that younger pick, you could trade back, possibly get some more draft capital, or just pick a good player and put them alongside your 24-year-old superstar. Like,
Yeah.
if, some good might happen out of it. But going back to the wood piece is like Mark specifically said, with Kyrie, we're going to try to get the deal done. And then somebody had asked him, well, what about Christian Wood? And he was just like, oh, we're not going to be naming off individual
That
players.
was killing me. It's like you just talked about two individual players and then you don't speak about an individual player. Like that's the sort of like Sideshow Bob stepping on a field of rakes shit that I feel like he does every time he talks to the media, where it's just, what did you expect? What did he expect? I don't know.
And people gobble it up, and I'm just tired. I kind of, whether you want to call me a fake fan, a coward, loser mentality, whatever the case is, I did not want to see a win tonight just because of the things that I've already stated.
Sure.
I think this gives them a lot of leadway. They can make more excuses on top of that. Say, hey, look how great the season ended
If
for
only
us.
a couple of things had gone differently, we would have
Yeah,
won. And it's like,
and,
no.
and I just need there to be real consequences. And maybe I'm expecting too much from a failure of a season to create some type of change. But that's what business these players and even the owner himself is in. You have to change. You have to build a roster going into next season with the hopes of getting past the Western Conference Finals. And I think this Western Conference Finals run has some of the fan base expecting more when I think they overachieved. I'm gonna
Yeah.
just be honest.
Well, no, I mean,
because
overachieving last year's fine. But they'd found a blueprint. And instead of like building on the blueprint, they're like, what if we did something completely different?
Yo, not adding any more wing depth, but trying to bank on 33 or 34-year-old JaVale McGee and Christian Wood. I mean, I like Christian Wood, so I can't say too much about him bad, but it's just like whew, you let Brunson walk, and all you did was bring in aging players to replace your 25-year-old borderline all-star player. That just carried you. I don't want to take up too much time,
I
Kirk.
don't mind.
I just
Love it, Jose.
I just don't feel good about this. I don't feel good about the win. I can't celebrate the win, and I can't be optimistic about a play-in or a playoff appearance. That's just where I'm at. And until we could somehow get rid of the current players on the team and bring in some youth, bring in some athleticism, bring in the term that has been thrown around a lot, dogs. I don't feel confident that this team is going to be a championship contender. I know people will say, "Oh, Luka and some janitors could win the NBA Finals," but we've also seen limitations as to what Luka looks like around people who can't dribble, who can't create their own shot, who can't even play a lick of defense.
Yeah.
He put up a 40+ performance over 7 straight games.
That's right.
And he broke down.
So shout out to my man CBA Mavs Scott. He's in the chat. Who it's like he woke up where he is on the other side of the world, heard us talking about Maxi Kleber's contract incorrectly, rubbed his eyes, and was like, you know what? They're wrong. And I'm going to comment. He let us know that because you can trade 6 months after you can actually trade this contract 6 months after the fact. I didn't know in season, Scott. I haven't read the CBA. Neither is Jose.
Great.
We don't care. We don't want to read the CBA. We don't want to read contracts. We want to watch basketball.
And we want to listen to podcasts about the CBA.
That's exactly right. So I'm gonna switch, because you're on your phone. I'm not sure you'll be able to see this, but I'm gonna switch the screen to a joke from the incredible Josiah Johnson on Twitter, Udoka in the Lakers locker room right now. And it's just an incredible shot because the Lakers just lost to the Clippers after a furious comeback attempt, and they still lost. I'll post it in the chat so anybody can see this, but it's just like Twitter will never. It's just so good for jokes. It's my favorite thing. But thank you for hanging out with us, man.
Thank you, Kirk, for bringing me up, and much applause to you for starting something new and finding a different endeavor for yourself.
Well, it's a real, and you're a guy who spends some time going to the gym. Like seeing my ugly ass face in the camera. It's like, I need to keep working out. I need to shave. I need to comb my hair. It's good stuff. All right, man. Well, thanks so much.
All right, thank you.
All right, coming up next is Brandon. Welcome to the show again. Wow, what an outstanding beard you have.
Kirk, can you hear me?
That's better than anything I can, and your beard is better than anything I could have hoped for. What's going on, man?
Man, I'm trying to keep the gray out. That's all I'm doing, Kirk. Trying to hide
What are you thinking tonight?
the gray. I'm good. Can you hear me, Kirk?
I can.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so yeah, man, that was a good game. Kyrie, that dude. I used to have a Instagram account. And I used to follow his. I guess it was like his fundamental coach when he lived in Jersey, and that dude used to put Kyrie through a lot of stuff, and it kind of shows because that dude's handles and just his footwork is kind of it's unseen before. It was one, I think it was like in the third or fourth quarter when he pivoted in the paint and shot off of his left foot. I was like, man, people can't move like that.
Not at that small and over bigger guys. It was incredible.
It is. And not even a fadeaway. He just shoots over dudes. It's just like, man, that's crazy. But his on the court leadership is a lot different than Luka's. It seemed like to me, I think the guys like Luka, and so they play for him. But with Kyrie, they play with him because he gets them more involved in the game, like the ball flow, giving them chances to shoot with confidence. And it was a couple of times where I was looking at like, I think Luka's going to take this shot as opposed to Kyrie. Kyrie would probably drive and kick it out. So I think their chemistry works well because you got somebody that could be like an intrinsic leader if Luka is that type of person with the guys, and then somebody that's going to be like a floor general, kind of like Kyrie. He's not as outspoken as maybe a Chris Paul is, but he's still pretty significant in a leadership role with the Mavs.
Well, because of his size, he has to get the ball differently. Like, he's not a small player, but he's not big either. He's 6'3" with a pretty good wingspan. And so the kind of actions he gets with a lot of the dribble handoff stuff is just a lot different than Luka, because Luka's so big, he can ISO everyone. But watching Kyrie off of motion where he passes to somebody and then like curls real sharply, like it's very aesthetically different to watch. And it's really pleasing when he's cooking. Like some of the shots he made tonight were gravity defying nonsense. And that's just the kind of zone you get in every now and again when you're that good. I guess I've never been that good. Lord knows.
I wonder, and you know what? And this is not a straight one-to-one comparison, but the way that they move off of the ball, him and Steph Curry, I kind of wonder if they borrow from each other, if Steph kind of borrow from him, if he borrows from Steph, because once Kyrie passes, he's constantly moving. He's looking for the next something, as opposed to just sitting there stagnant, just like Steph. That dude is pretty much running a marathon all game when he's off of the ball, looking for the next shot or looking for something to happen. So I kind of wondered, like you said, I would never know because I'm not a great player, but great guys kind of feed off of each other's energy like that.
It feels more like what Kyrie does versus what Luka does. And granted, let's just be clear. Neither of these things are things that normal humans can replicate. But if you were to show someone who's trying to play basketball like a kid, you can show them the off-ball movement and say, you can do this stuff. Whereas what Luka does is so physically dominating that it's hard, like you just can't replicate it. But I really think it works well together. Dalton Trigg over at Step Back Mav podcast, Dallas Mavericks SI site, said that anybody that's complaining about Luka and Kyrie like not working together hasn't watched a game because they work fine. They're great. The offense is amazing.
It works amazing. And man, you know what? And I was just thinking like a hypothetical situation. You brought up the offseason and trades, but just hypothetically, let's say that they brought in somebody good, or let's say the next season Jaden Hardy made that significant, or Josh Green made that significant step to, that Jalen Brunson step. Would Luka ever consider playing that point forward or that three spot where they have like a three-headed guard, kind of like in Rick's old lineup? Or do you think that he would be more reluctant and want to stay in the guard spot?
That's a great question. I think in a game like over a season-long thing, he'd probably say no because he wants to have the ball. But then you get to game 80 or 82, whatever the hell game it is, and he has, his thighs are bruised up, his arms need those cupping things, and he's just tired of getting beat on all the time. He'll probably say yes. So I think more ball handling and guys that can do, to use a football term, like be more multiple is what Dallas needs, because Luka can do so many things that I don't know if we've really seen him do. Like, he's a great catch and shoot guy. He's just not super comfortable with it. I still think him as the screener, he's made jokes about how he has a big body and he should be able to use it. It's just they need to convince him that he needs to do it,
Right. So, and I think my pitch to him would be, why would it work for LeBron and not work for you being at that point forward spot? But then also, I kind of wonder if you just hypothetically, if you ran the plays that Dallas ran for Porzingis with Luka, knowing that he has a immaculate J, and he could just post up smaller guys, he could post up even forwards, if it would work or if he would buy into it, because that's one thing that we haven't seen is him just constantly beating people down in the post. I mean, it's possible, but I would definitely wonder how it would look if they ran the same type of sets for him that they ran for Porzingis.
We talked about it a while back when the Mavericks first got Kyrie, that with what the Nets did before James Harden hurt his hamstring, is James Harden was a point guard for 3 quarters, and then he was a sledgehammer in the 4th quarter. And currently we're kind of getting the inverse of that, where Luka's battering teams down, and then Kyrie's like he's a scalpel stabbing people in the 4th quarter whenever they're really cooking. I just think you have a lot of options. And what was nice tonight is that Luka recognized that Kyrie was absolutely on fire and did not hesitate to keep giving him the ball. And the Mavericks were perfectly fine with that. And I love that, because there's this occasionally discussion like, Luka's dominating too much. You know what? I don't think it matters. These guys are too smart. They figured this stuff out given enough time. Yeah,
I think the few times that Kevin Durant and Kyrie played together, that was kind of like the implication of good, just 2 good players playing together, cohesively. Like I said before, I think it was one game whenever Kyrie is a playoff game, I think Kyrie dropped like 50, and even KD maybe had like 50. So it's possible. But, the downside is they got to give 80% of the points, for the Mavs to pull it out. So,
That's true. That's true. Well, Brandon, thank you for joining us once again. Do you got anything else before I move on to the next guest?
Yeah, just one more thing, man.
Sure.
You were talking about rooting for the jersey, and just real quick, I think, I think I talked about before what made me become a Mavs fan, but back in the day, there wasn't very many options. As a sports, in Texas, you probably had regional stuff like the Cowboys, the Rangers. Some places had like Houston with Southwest Sports, and the Dallas Mavericks, and probably if you lived in the Houston area or San Antonio, you had the Spurs or the Rockets. But I want to say anything that's kind of Central Texas. Above Central Texas, more kind of Dallas Mavericks. So on Sundays, you would probably, this is before TNT, on Sundays, that would probably be the only time you could see basketball.
Right.
Like on ABC. So, outside of that, it was just constantly, only thing you could really see is the Dallas Mavericks basketball. And, back then, outside of Nolan Ryan, the Rangers kind of sucked, and the Astros sucked, and the Cowboys, this is the pre-Super Bowl, they sucked. So the only team that was really exciting was the Mavericks. So I think that's kind of what pulled me in. So, that's kind of my rooting for the team, kind of following them around for the longest.
I understand. Yeah. That's good stuff, man. Well, thanks for hanging out.
All right, Kirk, man. Thank you.
All right. Let's go to my man, Brian Zillum, who's been waiting patiently. What's going on, Brian?
Chief, what's going on?
Well, just here. It's not too late considering how late we started. But what do you got for us tonight?
Can we analyze that kid banger?
No, if you have it up, read it to us, because I read it earlier.
Well, I know you read it, but just there was so many one-liners from that entire thing. Like, I thought, like, Jason Kidd is actually really funny. Like, I'm starting to kind of see that now, I think. Tim and Austin at 77 Minutes of Heaven, like, I've pointed that out for a while. But with me being kind of like a grumpy asshole. I guess I'm too in the weeds to like notice that.
Reading stuff is different than hearing it.
Right. Because I think it was the great Matt Moore. I think he was the one that first kind of pointed that out. And we were just like, well, what's so funny? And then I think Grant over at Dallas Basketball tweeted it. And I went from my mood being really pissed off to dying because it was so funny. Because after Kid basically said, well, fuck you guys. You didn't say anything last year. He opens a can. It was just like perfect. And then towards the end, someone actually coughs, but I swear to God, if you go back and listen to it, I think they're coughing to like make sure they're not laughing, because obviously in a meeting or like a media setting, that would be truly unprofessional. But
it's hard not to sometimes.
Oh yeah, for sure. But
there was an instance maybe 2-3 years ago where there was they have these like season ticket holder events where fans can come through and do stuff, and somehow a drunk lady wandered into the press conference and asked Rick Carlisle a question. God. That was a fun one. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, it's just through the hilarity, I loved how Kid will well, you guys didn't ask anything about you didn't call for my job or not believe in me last year.
I can't imagine why.
Yeah, bud, because you overachieved as hell and you went to the Western Conference Final, and now you're kind of fiddling and fartling around where I'm sorry if anybody's listened that I brought this up before and I still have it. I'm gonna bring it up every freaking time. When the Mavericks were 9-7, Kid was so nonchalant about the start of this stupid team. Because if you go back and listen to it, I'm happy to tweet it out if anybody's interested. But he said, well, you wouldn't say the Kings are in a rough patch. They're 9-7. Where are the Kings right now? They've clinched and third seed in the playoffs. Where are the Dallas Mavericks? And they're struggling right now to get through this really dumb playing game, which they've kind of are secretly trying to sabotage us. And just out of spite, I think at this point, they're just trying to make us do more miserable work, because I really don't want to see this team play basketball in general, just because the defense is so awful. The offense is so godly. It's hard for me to in the moment. Yes, Kyrie was going bananas,
right?
And I should be absorbing that and loving the hell out of that. But in between all of the calamity that's occurred within pretty much I think a 2-hour time frame before the actual tip off, it drives you crazy. And if you're not a Kirk Henderson already, I'm sure at some point this season, we all turn into Kirk Henderson. It's okay. But I still as a fan of this stupid team for 3 decades now, I want to enjoy them. But
that's true.
They are actively making me resent them. And I don't like that about myself as a fan.
They lose when they should win, and they win when they should lose.
Yes.
That's just been the case for a month and a half. And there's just no... It's very predictable. They either hit a lot of 3-pointers and they win, or they don't and they lose. And then there's comments about the defense. It's not fun.
No, and then the back to the Cuban stuff. I think you saw this when I said it in the Mavs Moneyball Slack. Cuban's comments of trying to take accountability reminded me. Anybody that's been in a business setting, I'm sure, has had a manager or director of some sort that basically they want you to do all the work, but they want to have all their fingers in the pie.
Yeah.
But the funny thing about this, Cuban wants to have all his fingers in the pie, doesn't know how any of this works, because if you go back to some of that, those comments, he said, well, I don't know exactly what happened. These are just the text messages from Nico. I don't know exactly how that happened. It's just gee, you cannot say you want all your fingers in the pie when you don't know your elbow from your asshole. Let the GM, whether he's a puppet or not, let him be who he is, or don't pick stooges like Nico and Kid, whether people want to admit it or not. They're stooges. They are Jason Garrett-ass people that Cuban wanted, because he knew he could collectively still do whatever the hell he wanted. Nobody was going to push back. And people gradually are finally starting to speak up, because I feel so bad because everybody yells at us you are the bad guy. No, we're not. We don't want this team to suck. We want to watch fun, entertaining basketball. I don't want Luka Doncic to say, hey, I want out. I'm going to Miami in 2 years. Peace out. Trade me. I actively don't want that.
Well, and last year when the Mavericks were real bad, right up until New Year's Eve, where they lost this horrible game right around that time to the Sacramento Kings, Josh and I were pretty brutal. And then when they started winning games, I kind of kept my mouth shut.
Mm-hmm.
And they went on such a streak, and this just feels like such the antithesis of that because they've won like 7 games since the All-Star break. It's just terrible. It's not fun. And they're going to back into the playoff to the play-in at this point.
Yeah, and I think like what is kind of frustrating where obviously we're too far in the weeds, and you and I are same age. We've seen it all at this point. And what these really young pups that are early in their early 20s, swinging 20s.
Yeah, they became Mavs fans when Luka joined the team.
Yeah, right.
That's okay.
So they don't know any better. They're yearning for like now. But I came to terms with after 2011, if I died the next day, I was happy because I saw Dirk win a championship with the Dallas Mavericks. Yeah. And people forget the idea of sports in general is you're not guaranteed anything. The Chicago Cubs went 100 years before they won a World Series. The Texas Rangers, right before the Mavericks won their championship, were an out away, a fly. All that Nelly Cruz had to catch was just a pop out, and they win the World Series for Charles Hamilton. They've never came that close, and they're gradually starting to rebuild. And the process of trying to format a team is so difficult, and I think people forget that process in general. And I think on 77 Minutes of Heaven, I think Cato and somebody else really want to have like the conversation how Luka was so good so fast that kind of like jacked up the
expectations
kind of
for sure.
Expectations, but everybody's like, oh, we're gonna win an NBA title like this year. I honestly didn't think that. I kind of figured the Mavericks would do okay, but I predicted them to be first round fodder because I didn't like this roster because I've seen this roster for 5 years now. Like, why is Dwight Powell still on this team? Why is Maxi Kleber still here? It's just it's just nutty. And I don't know. I kind of feel like maybe I'm trying to do the reverse Josh jinx, and I think OKC is going to win 2 in a row. I think.
I mean, it's pointless spending too much time with it. I mean, they're either going to get. It doesn't feel right not rooting for your team to win, but I also know how the math works, and so that's what's so frustrating.
And after today, this is Brian Zilm, who's been a grumpy Mavs fan for 30 years now. Like when Cuban has his hissy fits, like today, that makes it very difficult to say, oh, should you actually just take all your medicine, and so that way maybe the universe can actually like give a billionaire his or her muffins at some point. It's like you backdoored, you farted and fell down into Luka Doncic, which you probably didn't even have him top on your board anyway. But by hook or crook, you have him, and you thought he was going to be Dirk. And it's like, no, there's only one Dirk, and Luka's his own person. And you've been trying to just assume like this generational talent is going to drag a dead body to a championship. And it's like, I mean, hypothetically, if he somehow gets better, I guess in theory he could, but like, basketball's hard, man. And then especially going through the Western Conference, like he's going to break down like he has all year. And
that's tough.
It's super, super difficult. And I guess I'll ask you, like, if the Mavericks do have to play, well, let's say at this point, the Mavericks are, I think, favored like 52% chance of backdooring into the 10th spot. Do you think Minnesota could just mollywop them? You don't think Minnesota could be? But now,
no, I think Luka Doncic sees Rudy Gobert and he's that fat kid saying chicken. He's fried chicken, and just kills him.
Even if it's a road game, though.
Even if it's a road game, like the single game element of Luka Doncic is the single most terrifying thing most NBA teams have seen past LeBron. I'm sorry, he's that scary.
Now, what would be funny if the Mavericks actually beat Minnesota and the Lakers lose? And then the Mavericks season gets sent home by LeBron.
Yeah, now the Lakers thing would be much more because the Lakers are much better defensively constructed to stop Luka. But that's where my head is right now.
And you have to face LeBron in a must-win game. Even very old LeBron at 40 years old, our age. Essentially,
he scored 30 points in the second half tonight, though, man. The dude is a monster. He's just a monster.
He's in win mode right now.
He's Jaws. It's awful. I don't want to see him in a closeout game.
Yeah, I will say the interesting thing is I don't know how much Minnesota games have you been able to watch with your crazy ass schedule, but like Cat and Gobert are playing a little better together on paper.
Yep.
Obviously now
They've not played a ton together, but yeah,
not a ton, and it's unfortunate Nas Reed got hurt because that guy, oh my god, like
yeah, that's actually why I wouldn't count them, because I think he's the Jack Donaghy third heat that the Wolves would need, and he's not gonna play. So
yeah. Well, I will say at least with Cat involved in this equation, he's going to spread out people, and that's going to cause some problems. God forbid if Cat's actually hitting his perimeter shots that night.
You're right.
Yeah. So I mean, I feel like it would still be. I would push for Minnesota just because they have home court, and Dallas has been so bad on the road, and then of course Minnesota beat Dallas when they were shorthanded. Already before Minnesota, so I don't know, but I'll hop off, buddy. Glad I could join. Please, everybody, smash the subscribe button, Pod Maverick, and read a lot of. Well, there's going to be so many good.
There's already like 4 posts up tonight about this game, so we're gonna have a lot of Mavs Moneyball. But thanks for coming on, dude. All right, coming up last but not least is my man Rain. I think it's the same Rain that would call in from across the planet. How we doing, Rain?
Yeah, not doing too bad.
Not doing too bad. You have to suffer the rest of the day after this game. So what's going on?
Oh, the usual conflicted. Don't want to watch because you don't want to watch them lose, and then you get mad when they win.
That's right.
On top of that, I know you said you don't really care about CBA stuff, but I heard on a podcast that the NBA decided that the Brunson situation was such a fuck up that they're going to create an exception so that teams always have an exception they can sign a second round pick with, and also have them as a restricted free agent. I just think about that. The Mavs fucked up so bad, the NBA stepped in.
Love it.
And turned it a rule. And what's the bit that Mark Cuban pushed for it to be called the Rick Brunson rule, because that's the reason it happened.
Oh my God. Yeah, no, I did read about that, and I didn't really have a ton, but it is so much of this current CBA, and I've actually read a lot about it. I just don't really want to, I'm not good enough about talking about it. I feel like a lot of the current CBA was created to solve specific problems that won't happen again. Like they did this thing where players can have ownership of a team, like they can buy into teams, but like the things about buying into teams is current ownership has to agree to it. So in my opinion, that whole thing was created to allow LeBron James to buy ownership into a team as soon as possible, like while he's still playing. It's crazy. Like they're not going to let like J.R. Smith buy a team, like buy 2% of the Grizzlies. Stuff's nuts. But yeah, the mark, like the thing we created kind of as a result of the Brunson situation is so weird.
And on top of that, which I know we've spoken about with other people, but what Cuban thinks going to happen when you're talking shit about players' family members, and when you're talking openly talking shit about not wanting to talk about re-signing certain players, a la Christian Wood, who the fuck's going to want to sign with the Mavericks?
I don't know. That's the stuff. Like that's why I wrote that entire article where it's just like, please stop doing this. Please stop. Like, I understand his point. This is why I couldn't do this. I would be the exact same level of petty and angry and being like, you guys don't know what happened. The problem is the truth doesn't matter.
And okay, so there's a Jason Timms, I forget the name of his podcast. He said, if you're a strong defensive wing who can shoot, or a good rebounding, somewhat okay defensive center, go sign in Dallas because that's what they need, and you'll get a ton of playing time even if you're on a minimum contract. And he's right. That's exactly what they need. You could get a ton of playing time, but those players are going to look at this and go, is this an organization I want to play for? And I think honestly, one of the benefits of keeping Kyrie might be that players move there to play with Kyrie.
I think that's true because guys like him.
But, then that's going to be counterbalanced by having Mark Cuban shooting himself in the foot every way to Sunday.
He's Steve Buscemi showing up with how do you do, fellow kids, and his it's nuts.
Yeah, so with the pick, I, like many others, have probably become a tankathon aholic. Click the button and watch it spin. But I don't understand how somehow, I mean, I don't know enough about the draft lottery, to be honest, how we're now constantly behind OKC no matter what, even though we have the same record. And I'm hoping, my understanding is if we miss the play-in and OKC makes it in and play some games, that way we do slide just behind them. Is that how that works?
I think so. They have the tiebreaker over us. Like it's the thing. It's you do coin flips where there's no clear tiebreaker. Right now, they'd make it in because they beat us in either 3 matches or 2 of 3. I can't remember, but they own that tiebreaker. So yeah.
So yeah, hopefully that works out. But man, if they miss, actually, let's go into it. What's the point of being in the plan? If we're being frank, anyone who's not a top 4 seed basically has a near zero chance of winning a championship regardless. What is the point of being a 10th seed or a 12th seed or whatever it is?
Zero idea.
These days.
I have
precisely.
It's to the "We Tried" banner. I have no idea.
It's a participation trophy, and Luke is a killer competitor. Sure, he wants to play, he wants to win, and he probably genuinely believes, I'm sure, that he on his carrying on his back could take them to a championship if he simply makes the playoffs. I believe he believes that, but someone in the front office needs to be saying to him, "Hey, missing the playoffs once." Securing a pick, maybe even a top 4 pick that we can trade to do whatever happens.
They've had this discussion. They've just opted against the optics because they think the players want to win, and they're right. Joe in the chat notes that they have the playoff tiebreaker, but a coin flip will still decide lottery odds in positioning for tied teams. So
that's not positive news. Now,
of course not. We don't win coin flips.
No, don't win any coin flips.
Though my Galaxy Brain take, I think I said this on the show, I definitely tweeted it out, was that Luka's missed, as a result of Luka missing so many game-winning shots this year. He doesn't have a single one. I think the Dallas Mavericks are going to win the lottery, and Luka will be there, and he'll have that shit-eating grin on his face and make some goofy smile. But that's my take. It's ridiculous.
If they could even get, my personal opinion is, if they get a top 4 seed, not the number 1 pick, is they should trade down, get themselves a defensive wing. I think it's Taylor Hendricks or something Walker. Get something like that. Have the spare pick to use to try and obtain some other pieces. Because obviously, if you get Victor, like, that's no brainer. And Victor, Luka, same team, game over. Whatever. Who cares? He's not going nowhere.
Right. Even if the guy's not, like, if they're worried about his body and they only play him 55 games, like, you're winning a lot of those games.
So let's pray that they finally move up in the draft. Let's pray that Cuban can learn to shut his mouth, and pray that Kyrie stays, because the Mavericks are on the edge of the abyss. If Kyrie walks for nothing, Wood, who's clearly going to goes for nothing, then it's just nothing but darkness. It's the end of Infinity War. Stuff happens. You're just like, what do we do now? And it will be Mark Cuban standing there, like, thinking that he's truly done something, and he'll be looking for someone else to blame.
That's right. Jeremy in the chat asks, are you familiar with the gambler's fallacy? Yes, it's my entire existence, Jeremy. Rain, thank you so much. You got anything else before we head out?
No, I think that's it. And well, good luck, everyone. Try and make it through the next couple of days.
That's right. We'll be back on Friday with something new after they play the Bulls. So thanks for hanging out, everybody. Or Rain. I'm going to do one more thing before we go. First, I'm going to do, Rain gave me a great idea. He talked about tankathons. So I think what we need to do before we close out the show is do a tankathon simulation together. Okay. Here's the lottery based off. We're going to click sim lottery. The Mavericks are way down here at 12th because of that's the way the thing goes tonight. I'm going to shrink my screen a little bit in case anybody can see it. We're going to press Sim Lottery and see where the Mavericks end up. Oh, good. They end up at 12th and they send the pick to the next. So that's just a charming way to end the show. You know what? We're going to click it one more time, see what happens. Oh, hey, cool. The Mavericks fall to 14th in that lottery. That's fantastic. No, where'd they go? Oh, no, I'm wrong. They moved all the way up plus 11. See, we're going to end the show on a good note. It took 2 clicks to end on Victor Wembanyama going all the way up to 12th. That's the way we want to end the show. That the icons were so small. I misread the Wolves icon. Good gracious. What a preposterous way to end the show. 2 clicks. And it says we just need 2 rolls of the lottery. That's what I'm taking away. Be sure to like the show. Appreciate everybody hanging out. Head on over to Mavs Moneyball if you want to read stuff. Tell your friends about the show. We'll be back here. And I appreciate everybody hanging out with me. And everybody have a good rest of the week.